Hello, listeners. Thanks for tuning in again this week. I am excited for this week's guest, as I am for all week's guests. But this one is another one that I've been talking to for a few years, and pretty much immediately was like, I need to have this person on the show. But because of scheduling and being adults, doesn't always work out. They also live like 5 hours away. So
5 hours?
shut up. I'm doing the intro. Ladies and gentlemen, Ashley LeVay. Am I saying that right?
No,
No, it's not LeVay.
no, it's love.
Oh, I thought it was French Canadian.
I do have some cool ancestors, but not French Canadian ones.
Okay, so you grew up in Rockford. Blech.
Yeah,
Um,
also known as Cockford.
well, of course.
Yeah.
That's like Becker was Pecker.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and I forget, you have a sister?
So she's not blood.
Okay.
So she came with Morganette. Really, I consider both of them sisters. They're just not blood related to me. But I do have a biological brother who I am also very close with. He lives in Rhinelander, Wisconsin now, and he's gonna be 29.
Okay. The dynamic with you and your parents. Did you lean more towards one parent than the other?
Yes. I've always been a daddy's girl.
Interesting.
So I'm very close to my dad, which is funny because with my dating history,
And this is bio dad?
yeah, people always assume I have daddy issues, and I don't. I don't think my mom will ever see this, so I'll say, it's mommy issues actually. The dynamic with my mom was not always healthy. My dad worked a lot, so like when he started out as an actuary, you have to start at the bottom and work your way up. But like, so he would work a lot of times when I was young, like in Ohio. This happened a lot in Ohio because he would be gone for like a week at a time.
Oh, wow.
I would cry because I missed my dad, and my mom would get angry with me and yell at me. And sometimes she would like hit me with stuff. Like her favorite thing was a metal hanger.
Wow. Old school.
But to add some she's not a monster. I love my mom. She has it's undiagnosed, but I know she has it. Um, Autism and ADHD. Her impulse control isn't great. She's not great with really being able to understand how other people feel. Yeah, she just doesn't connect to people the same way other people do. And for a long time, there was a lot of like, not hate, hate's the wrong word, but like, um, just
Strong feelings.
distrust with her. Yeah, I just didn't feel close with her. She does really try though, and we're close now. Now that I'm older and I understand, like she was trying, like she's much better of a mother than her mother. Um, so she tries, and
I always say this as a disclaimer when it comes to parents. Any parent who has an issue with these things that we're talking about, I'm going to tell you, parent to parent, it's not your job to make your mom feel better about the things that she did. It is our job as parents, which I've said on the show many times, so I apologize, but it's not my job, or it's not Landon's job to make me feel better about him having to see me get carried out by, EMT and police from the house. That's my job to make him feel better. So if vocalizing and talking to people about what happened is how he gets through it, then I need to show up for that or allow him the space to be able to do that.
and that's actually a lot of like what my therapist has told me. When I talk about it, because I like recently just started like sharing this more openly. There's been a couple of people I've shared this stuff with, but like realizing that when I would try to talk to her about it, she'll either not remember or she's like, I tried, and like then she'll like lose emotional stability in that moment, and like then I'm left really making sure she's okay. which created a lot of my boundary issues because I've always been this rescuer. I've always had to hold other people's feelings.
That's a really interesting way of saying that. Hold other people's feelings. I like that. Sorry.
I feel like it's therapy speak.
Mm,
Um, because we're holding something with someone like in the room. Um, but like that should have never been put on me.
yeah.
And I've realized that I can't really talk to her about these things because she just doesn't get it. And that's okay. Like, practice some radical acceptance as far as that, we're not in control of other people. So if they're not in a spot to be able to hear something or really understand something, we just have to figure out other ways to work through that.
Well,
And
another thing, sorry, I keep cutting you off,
it's okay.
but like one thing that not a lot of people are aware of, but um, early on in parenting, because are you the oldest then?
I sure am. I was the guinea pig.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a big learning curve because you watch this little human being have these big emotions and you want so badly for them to understand that they're going to be okay. This isn't the end of the world or whatever. Couple that with lack of sleep, all of these things. You're trying to be the best version of whatever this little creature needs. But sometimes when they can't grasp a thing, parents snap. They lose it because it's kind of maddening in a way because it feels so clear to you that it should be obvious that you're going to be okay. So I can't imagine on top of that adding being on the spectrum. Like, does she seem to hold grudges or no?
Yeah. Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
But the ones that she has are like valid though.
But yeah, so anyways, just to throw that out there is like even a person who had the best background and all of the things that seem like they should have been an amazing parent, you can fucking lose it because it's this brand new. Imagine a job like you get hired and from day one they're like, all right, so this is going to be a 24/7 job. There's no breaks. There's no benefits.
You don't get paid, it costs you money.
Yeah. You're actually paying us.
Yeah. Well, and like I don't have any resentment or anything for my mom. I love her very much. And I go down to see my parents. They live in Florida now.
Classic.
Yeah. Yep. When you're playing like Cards Against Humanity, there's that card where we move to Florida to retire and die. I always use that one when I'm playing with them because I'm like, oh, this is what you guys did. Um, but I go to see them like typically twice a year. And like when I see my mom get dysregulated, I just remind my dad, like, she'll come back down in a bit. Like it's fine because sometimes he gets frustrated, but like she tries to like manage her stuff. It would be nice if she would go to therapy. But she actually told me she's like when I told her I was going to therapy again, she's like, "Oh, why?" And I'm like, "Well, I just have some more stuff that I need to process because the first round of therapy when I was in grad school, when I had that mental breakdown, I was processing like trauma from the abusive relationship in high school and then a rape that happened in 2019. So I was processing that. And now I want to process just me, like my reactions to
Mm,
things and really work more on my borderline personality disorder versus
I
the
was gonna say
PTSD.
the BPD stuff that I whenever I learn that somebody has BPD, I feel for them usually the most. Obviously, being on the spectrum is a totally different thing, but with BPD, because so much of it is behavioral, like that's like we were talking about Ozempic, it's for life.
Yep.
When it comes to your high school experience, were you athletic in high school too?
No. Um, I mean,
Push this guy a little bit closer to you.
I guess it depends on what you consider athletic. I always rode horses, which in some of the other schools that was a sport.
Hmm.
Rockford just didn't have it was a small school, didn't have a team for that. I mean, fuck, we didn't even have a hockey team. This is Minnesota, so but I rode horses, and then I did track and field, my junior year, but I didn't do it my senior year because summer between my junior and senior year, I broke my ankle.
Oh shit.
And we didn't it was the recession during that time, so
Oh.
my dad lost his client because he's like essentially a corporation of one. So he doesn't get like unemployment or anything like that. Um, it like helps with taxes when he has a job because he gets to pay corporate tax.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
yeah,
So he voted for Trump?
yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, that's a whole nother story. Like they're
Sorry.
both very. My mom is really kind of like part of that Trump cult. It weirds me out. She also will make comments about when we were watching a movie and these two women were making out, and she goes, "Ew." And I look at her, I'm like, "Mom, are you forgetting that I'm bisexual? Like, I'm right here." And she's like, "Well, I just don't understand why it has to be on TV." And I'm like, "Because gay relationships exist, Mom." Well, it's the agenda. And I'm like, "Oh, well,
Oh.
let's talk about the heteronormative agenda." Where like, do you hear gay people being like, "Oh, they just shouldn't show straight relationships on TV." No, you don't.
I heard a kid there's this art school towards the cities for like uh so they can leave their normal school and go here and be eccentric and all the things. But apparently majority of those kids are somewhere in the LGBTQ alphabet. And they had to have an assembly because the straight kids were getting picked on, which so funny. That I love that as a nation we've finally gotten to that place where the straight kids are getting picked on. But somebody was calling one of the kids a straggot, and yeah, boss and I looked at each other and we were like, "Whoa, I know what I'm calling you for the rest of the day."
Oh my God, that's well, that's just because there's been this hatred towards the LGBTQ community for so long and it continues to persist. And the sad thing is when you see because it's sort of like with people that have been abused that end up like this is a small portion of people that end up being abused, but that end up being abusers themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have so much of that pain and you just like it's that pain and hatred is just misplaced on like people that haven't hurt you. And then you get all of the groups like fighting with each other, and it's like, why can't we just all get along? um,
Okay,
th-
wait. Did you learn that you were bisexual in high school?
no, my brother knew before I did, actually. I figured out when I was probably a sophomore in college. Because I always just ignored it. I always thought like every other female was very attracted to other females, but no, not in the same way that I am. Because like I have a friend who's straight who's like, well, I appreciate the female form, but like she has no like set like sexual reaction. Like she doesn't like feel anything sexual when she's looking at like a hot woman. Where I do, and I always loved making out with other women and being grabby with other women. And I always just thought it was just like a fun thing to do, but because I didn't acknowledge that I was bi. And I think too, because it is a spectrum, and I do tend to lean more
Wait a
towards
second. Are you saying bisexual people are on the spectrum? Oh my God, that's so offensive. Sorry.
no, it's okay.
No, I'm kidding.
Because I've never dated a woman, but I always thought it was when I finally told Mark about it, my brother. He was like, "Oh yeah, I knew." And I'm like, "How the fuck did you know?" And he's like, "Well, you and Katie, that's the long-haired gal that came with when I got my ear pierced by you in like June, I think." Anywho, you see a lot of people. But she was one of the gals that was with, so she's one of the people that I consider a sister. We've known each other forever. And we used to shower together all the time at my house. And like Mark was like, "No, you two were giggling in there." And like I heard some things. And I'm like, "Why were you listening, you gross like weirdo?" And he's like, he had a crush on Katie.
Well,
Um,
also 2 girls showering together.
but I'm his sister.
Yeah. It's just a
But I think
unfortunate bystander of the
yeah. But also in his defense, his room, he like couldn't really get away from it because his room was right across from the bathroom.
Okay.
So he would like be in his room playing with his like lizards and stuff. He loves reptiles. He's always
So
had
funny because when you say playing with his lizard, it's like
actual lizards and like a tortoise, Shelly. She's still alive.
So you're listening to Christina Aguilera on full blast, giggling.
So my brother's like, I knew. And I'm like, oh, well, I didn't know yet. But yeah, when I finally talked to my parents about it, my dad was like, yeah, sure, I don't care. And my mom just like didn't really say anything, and she'll still make like
Mm.
nasty comments when anything LGBTQ comes up. And it's like she forgets that I'm not straight. So I
She
think
has
that's funny.
ally amnesia.
Yeah, I think so. But again, it's one of those things that I'm not going to change it. So, but oh yeah, I was talking about sports. That's how
Oh,
we're.
yeah.
So
Oh, right,
I
because lesbians are athletic.
yes. So I broke my ankle and we didn't have insurance. Um,
Oh,
because
right, the
my
recession.
yep.
Yes, it's all coming back to me now.
So hashtag America, I couldn't go to the doctor. So it just slowly healed on its own as I hobbled on it all summer, but I wasn't like in running. I wasn't able to do sprints yet when I got to my senior year. Um, so yeah, I was in track for 1 year.
I
That's the
see.
extent of my athleticism.
I feel like that happens a lot. Ankles are just beat to shit.
Well, I broke it by sitting on it wrong. I was playing a horse video game and I was sitting.
Are you Tina?
Yeah, pretty much. But less confident. I love Tina's confidence. She's my favorite character. In Bob's Burgers, for those
Yeah,
of
if
you
you
who
guys
don't know.
didn't know.
So I was playing this horse video game with my brother, and I got up to go get something. And when I came to go sit back down, you know how like you're standing and then you kind of curtsy to sit down, like you put your leg behind you. And I sat on my ankle funny. So I rode horses. I ran all the time. I've always been one to work out because I started working out with my mom at a young age. She loves working out too.
Okay.
So none of those things were what hurt my ankle. I sat on it funny. But yeah, my confidence did increase after my junior year a bit because I stopped caring so much. I was bullied really badly.
That's what I was curious about too, is like your mom being an active person. Was she like relatively fit,
Mhm.
for your youths?
Yeah, she still is. Like,
Yeah.
my mom's hot.
You got hot mom?
Yeah.
Fucking awesome. So the things that you were bullied for, was it because you were a horse girl, or was it because you were constantly copping a feel on women, or what was
So that kind of changed throughout like me growing up. So when I was little, like elementary school, I was just kind of weird. I didn't have like the best social skills. Weird with growing up with, my main caregiver being autistic. So I didn't have like the best social skills with talking with other kids. Like when I moved to Rockford, I remember going up to this girl named Danny. Um, and I was like, hey, do you want to be my friend? And she's like, no. And like, oh, so then I cried in the lunch line.
Well, fuck, that's brutal. Like, even if you were raised by somebody on the spectrum, like some little kid being like, maybe they had it's not Asperger's anymore, but maybe they were just a little aspy and they were like,
oh, no,
no.
she was just a bitch. She was a bitch forever. She was one of the, like, the it girls, she was popular, so
Mm.
and I never was. So I had, like, one friend, um, who really, like, just liked to boss me around, and then I met Katie, who I call my sister, and she used to, like, tear the heads off my Beanie Babies and stuff, and then
Katie?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
like
she
hiding her drugs in there or
she needed drugs. She was undiagnosed with her ADHD, so she was just fucking woo everywhere. Um, but we got into middle school and, like, I, got really bad acne because, like, hitting puberty, I actually hit puberty starting in, like, 4th grade.
uh
So I started to develop boobs, before everyone else, acne before everyone else. I got bullied. I was taller than everyone, which is funny because now I'm
interesting. I was
not
the
tall.
same way. For some reason, I feel like a lot of us shorter folk, we grew really fast. So it was like, oh yeah, I'm fucking tall. And then summer rolls around and everyone else is taller than you, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah, and then you're short, and it's like, "Well, fuck this." So middle school, I was fucking ugly. I had braces. You know? And I really liked this 8th grade boy.
Mhm.
His name was Alex. He pretended to like me, and him and all of his friends would write me, like, because this was back before cell phones, we'd write notes. Fun fact, kids still do this. I've heard
Right
from my
notes?
teenagers that they still write notes. I'm like, "Physical notes?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Oh my god, that's so cool." And they're
I
like,
don't know if that will
"Okay."
ever go away because there's something about that, like, it's a risk-taking thing. You're holding onto this thing. It's like loading up a text message and not hitting send yet. You're just holding on to it, and, yeah, that feeling when you finally hand it over to somebody, you're going, "Okay, I'm gonna cry if this doesn't go well."
Yeah. And, for it was about half of the year because I met him whenever all the other kids went on this, like, deep portage trip, I think is what it was called.
They were deported?
Deep portage? I think I blur my words together.
No, I'm being an asshole.
Um, well, no, I mean, we did it was pretty the school was pretty much white. I mean, you could deport them back to Europe. Um,
Deport the Vikings.
yeah. But, so we were in this, like, class thing together, and that's how we met. So that would have been, like, in the it was kinda cold out, so, like, the fall? Well, school starts the
Well,
fall, I
Minnesota, it
guess.
could have been spring, who fucking knows?
Yeah. But it was, like, from what I remember, it was most of the school year where he was passing me these notes, and then I found out that he actually didn't like me and that they all of him and his friends were making fun of me. It was super traumatic because they laugh and point at me in the hallway, and, like, he drew this picture of me that made me look super fat. So this was me at 6th grade. After all of that
Oh, 6th grade.
happened,
I thought you were saying you were older, sorry.
no, this was middle school. So I was a little 6th grader and he was an 8th grader. Um, well, all of them ended up graduating. I, like, really sunk into that, like, I was ugly and all of this stuff. Well, I got put on birth control, in 7th grade because I was bleeding so heavily, like, 6 months at a
Fuck.
time. Yeah, I had total hormonal issues.
Is that endometriosis?
They thought that it was, but, like, to actually diagnose that, you have to have surgery, and
Ugh.
so they did some other, like, imaging stuff, like an ultrasound and, um, an MRI at one point. I don't have endometriosis. I did find that out because I quit taking birth control for a little bit in my 20s just to see if my shit would be okay, and it was. So it was I think it was just because I was so young and, like, I hit
Oh,
puberty
sure.
so early. But so I was on birth control, which cleared up my acne, and then I learned how to style, like, my thick because I have thin hair from my mom. Thanks, mom.
Eh.
Um, but, so I learned how to style it, I learned how to do makeup, I stopped wearing, like, baggy, like, horse clothes because all my other clothes had horses on them when because I it
With a
6th
lot
grade
of, like, pockets, like, deep pockets.
No, unfortunately not.
Really?
They're just like were not pockets for women and back in the
Were you
day.
ever it
Well, there
might
were
have been
those big
done.
baggy
I was gonna
pants.
say Jenkos.
But those, like, I always saw the cool, like, goth kids at Walmart that had them, and I always wanted to go up to them and tell them, like, how cool they looked, but I was scared because of, like, going up to people and trying to be nice and having them be like, "Fuck you, you
Hi.
suck, you're
I just
lame."
wanted to say that I feel like I could fit my whole body into one of those pant legs.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, have a nice day.
But I'm so glad they're coming back because I do love that aesthetic, the 90s goth.
Dude, have you seen how much they are? They're like hundreds of dollars.
What? Could just go to Goodwill and get some really old
Yeah,
ones.
no shit.
Anyway, so bullied and stuff, and I got pretty, and I use quotations because, like, what the fuck does pretty mean? It's all it's it's fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
But anyway,
It's standing out, and if you can hit it in the right way,
mhm.
because you either stand out and people are like, oh my God, they look fucking ridiculous, or you stand out and that uniqueness people latch onto. So,
So I started dressing in tighter fitting stuff. I went through. I'm gonna move this. I went through like an emo phase, but it was black and pink,
Ooh,
not just black, because I had to have pink.
sure.
Um,
Like you look goth, but you also bought 50 cents candy shop.
yeah, yeah. Um, so and like the dark eyeshadow, but like apparently I looked good because boys started to notice me,
Mm.
and this is when my eating disorder started.
I knew that was coming.
Because Alex, the guy who faked liking
Mm.
me,
Hmm.
that picture of drawing me where I look really fat. I've never been fat in my life. Like it's just not my genetics. So eh, the
But body dysmorphia,
yes.
you look in the mirror and you see that fucking drawing.
Mm-hmm. And he even drew the acne. I mean,
Oh my God.
I gotta give him credit for it was a pretty good drawing for being awful, I guess.
I want to make sure that nobody has to guess who this is. I put the little mole.
Yeah. Oh, it was, and the braces and everything. So I still
Oh my
had
God.
braces in 7th grade, but like I lost a bunch of weight. I was 90 pounds. And I'm the same height now as I was then. So I was 5'5" and 90 pounds, still running and working out. I actually started having to have my brother come with me on runs because I'd pass out. Did my parents say anything? No. Did my doctors fucking say anything? No. They're just like, oh, she's just small. Like, yeah, that's why I'm passing out. I actually, I would randomly go blind.
Oh, like would it be that tunnel vision thing and then just lights out?
So the first time it happened, I was in the shower. I was using my parents' shower because my brother was taking forever in the other one. He still does that. Shout out to you, Mark, for your long showers. I love you. But so I was taking a shower and all of a sudden it was that yellow, like sparkly stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And then it just went black. And I was freaking the fuck out, Chris, because I didn't pass out. I was awake, fully conscious, but blind.
Oh,
Yeah. Apparently that's not a like common thing to happen when you're malnourished, but it can. Because your
holy
body
shit.
just starts to like get rid of stuff that it doesn't necessarily need. And apparently it was attacking my vision. And so I stumbled I got out of the shower. I didn't even put a towel on, and I'm teenage girl.
Right. So your dick and balls are hanging out.
Yeah. Just all of it. And I walk into my parents' room and they were in there, including my poor father.
Oh,
And I'm like, you guys, I can't see. And my dad's like, oh my God, Ashley, why are you not wearing a towel? And I'm like, it's not like you haven't seen this before. I need help. I can't see. And they went and got me like a fruit cup. And so I ate the fruit cup. And that's how I figured out if I got quick sugar, like peaches or something, my sight would come back and I wouldn't fall over or anything. So I figured out that the whole like peach cup thing. and I was severely restrictive in my diet, but I would eat some things sometimes. I would eat, like, negative calorie foods like celery, raspberries. Everything I ate would be diet. When my parents would make dinner, um, I would make myself a salad, and I would, because my mom would always have, like, a meat, like a pork chop or a steak or something.
A protein.
Yeah, and it would come with, like, a vegetable and then, like, maybe, like, mac and cheese or something like that. Um, so I would always put the protein into my salad, but what they didn't realize is I would take, like, a little tiny piece off of it and put it in my salad to make it look like I was eating the protein, but then I would feed the rest to the dogs.
Oh, wow.
So I was hiding this, but the fact that, like, nobody realized, like, oh, all of a sudden she dropped all this weight, she's going blind randomly, she's passing out on runs, like,
Oh,
and I'm just this kid and nobody fucking helped me. And, like, I'm working through some of that anger in therapy right now because I have a lot of anger around that. Um, and that nobody helped me. So, yeah, now I was pretty, apparently.
sorry if I keep monkeying with my eyes, but my Alexa Pro messes with my eyeballs.
It's okay. Fucking big pharma.
Anyways,
Bastards.
so
Anywho,
you are completely naked
yeah,
in front of your parents. And then, so how old were you at this point?
that was 7th grade, so it would
Oh
have
my
been,
God.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so, and to give context of, like, how skinny I was, I'm 135 pounds now, same height.
Slay.
So, and I look thin now.
Yeah.
So imagine, like, 90 pounds because I'm muscular. Like, so my build isn't meant to be 90 pounds. Um, it's just not. So nobody was helping me with any of that. But, like, then I started to get attention from boys, which I liked, of course, because somebody's giving me some sort of positive attention. And I was
Right.
like, I fucking love this. Um, but then it shifted to she's a whore.
I was just going to say, it always turns into you're slutty now.
Mm-hmm. I was the sluttiest virgin.
I,
Yeah.
how do we, like, as a society, get that point across of, like, why is it that male attention is tied to you being very sexually active? Like, I don't I don't know what that is or, like, why it starts so young, but fuck me, dude. It's I mean, I know that, because boys are such horny little rascals that the thought is, "Oh, she's peacocking. That must be because she wants physical attention." And, yeah, I mean, that's the only thing I can think of is, like, little boys have boners for so long that, you know, you either are physically active or you're fucking you're just hiding it. You don't want to give it up. I know you're a
Quit being
fucking
a
slut. Yeah,
tease.
yeah, yeah. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Tease.
Um, and it's funny because the first boy that I dated, we were in 8th grade, and he actually dumped me because I was a prude. Because I wasn't ready to do sexual things beyond, like, a hug and, like, a little bit of a boob grab. Like, that's I just, you know? Um
Wait. You were grabbing their boobs?
No, he was feeling me up when we were playing hide and seek. This was, like, 8th grade. But anyway, so the eating disorder stayed.
Do you know if you recognized at that young of an age that it
No.
was an eating disorder? That's always fascinating too, to be like, yeah, at what point do we go, oh, this is because in health class, I mean, at least the health classes that I took, they try to confront and let people know, like, anorexia and bulimia, what those things are. But, like, yeah, the connection of, like, is that what I have?
Well, I sort of, like, knew that I had, like, more of a preoccupation with my weight than what, like, other people did, and, like, my friends I had a friend, her name, was Cassie. She noticed, she's like we were, because my parents belong to, like, this health club. It's actually the one in Buffalo, it's still there, and, it has these big windows around the pool, and it was dark, so you could see, um, like, the reflection. She was like, "You know, Ashley, you're really skinny." Like, and I'm like, "No, I'm not." Like, I have all these rolls and I'm like grabbing at nothing. You could see every single rib, my whole spine, my hip bones, and I didn't see that until she said that to me. Cause then I remember very vividly like looking at the glass and seeing myself. It was like I was seeing what I actually looked like for the first time. And I was like, "Holy fuck, I am skinny." So then, like, art class kind of helped, because I drew this drawing where it was a girl that was really skinny, and then I drew her looking into, a mirror.
Thank you so
You
much,
know, those have cocaine in them. Did you hear about that?
Deborah. Okay, so the art project.
I drew this girl that was really skinny and like you could see all of her bones. Now my anatomy wasn't great. Like I'm not good at drawing. It was really I just love art because I find it healing.
Yeah.
I'm not good at it though. But then the girl in the mirror, she was like looking in the mirror at herself and she was like really overweight. So like cuz until like my friend had said like you don't look good. Like, you're just bones. Like, what is going on with you? So then I started eating a little bit more, but I stayed like working out and stuff. So like I stayed pretty thin, but I went up to like 110 pounds. And then my freshman year of high school, I met Mr. Jordan. He was a junior and I was a freshman. And I was just like, he started talking to me when I was in the lunch line. And he was like, "Oh, you're gorgeous. Like, we should hang out." So I started dating him. We dated for a while. It was fun. He was my first hand job. I did it backwards.
What do you mean?
He was sitting, we were sitting on a couch, and
Mhm.
imagine like I'm here and he's there. And instead of doing like this, I
Uh-huh.
like grabbed it like it was weird. He had to like teach me. Well, cuz I didn't watch porn or anything like that. Like I
Mm.
didn't fucking know what I was doing. As the relationship progressed, we dated I think for like 8 months. He was very religious, very Lutheran, if I remember right, but very much like women should listen to their man and like
Oh,
be
the whole submissive,
submissive.
yeah.
And I am not that. Like, I like to be submissive in bed. I didn't even know that at this point in my life because I wasn't that sexual yet. But, like,
But that is not like
it's not the same
yeah,
as the Christian submissive because
right.
the submissive in sex is actually the one in control of everything. Um, so I think that's why I like it. I can let go knowing that I'm like safe and I'm still in control, but I
Yeah.
don't have to like direct anything. It's nice. But anywho, so he wanted me to be like this submissive partner, and I am not. Apparently I'm a bitch. I don't know. Um,
That's actually the first thing I thought. I was like, "God, this bitch
yeah,
just fucking."
just such a cunt. Oh, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word on
I
us.
mean,
It's fine.
kind of a cunty thing to do, but whatever.
I just really like the word cunt. I
It's
really do.
fantastic.
So he ended up breaking up with me, but like during the relationship, he would be like, "Are you really gonna eat that? Oh, you shouldn't eat that. You're gonna get fat." So I started restricting again, and then I dropped back. I dropped another 10 pounds, dropped back down to 100 pounds.
Dang it.
And then in my sophomore year, um, Jordan ended up dating another girl in my grade, and they would make out like on my locker all the time. And there was one day where they were doing that, and I was just standing there crying. And she was a popular girl, this girl, Paige, but she was very nice. she came up to me and she's like, "Ashley, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Not really." So I was super insecure at that point. I started dating another guy. He was a junior, John. He was weird. He actually got arrested, I found out after we graduated, for making threats towards President Obama because he's racist as fuck. This John guy. Yeah. So dodged a bullet there. But so we were dating and like I still like no actual sex, even though like people thought I was this slut, but it was like very much um just like making out and stuff like that. John, I never even like saw his dick or anything. Like he'd never like seemed to want to do anything more than just like make out a little bit.
I
But then
wonder if there
he
was some repressed homosexuality.
maybe,
Like Obama was hot, so
yeah.
maybe that was part of the, you know, it's like this sexy chocolate man makes me so fucking mad.
Honestly, that wouldn't surprise me. The dude was just whew.
Okay,
So I like he ended up cheating on me with one of my friends. And that like so just the
I
insecurity.
was gonna say this is all leading to insecure, but you also, I'm assuming, undiagnosed BPD.
Oh, absolutely. Cause
So
my
these
weird
things are
attachments.
heavy.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, so being I have diet bipolar. Um, Words have a lot of weight, but actions, I mean, it's like somebody's they're a full blown assault on you personally. So I mean, I forget. Have you ever been like on a mental health unit?
No, I've never been hospitalized.
Okay,
I've worked on a mental health unit.
but never been admitted yourself.
No,
Okay.
cuz my self-harm was the starving and the like putting myself in dangerous situations and stuff, trying to gain like acceptance from people. So like I definitely hurt myself, but not in a way that my parents would have been like, "Oh shit, we've got to get her some help." I mean, you'd think the starving would be enough, but it
Yeah.
apparently wasn't. So
Well, a lot of parents would be like, "Oh, it's just their metabolism.
yeah.
They just have a really high metabolism."
And I mean, in their defense, my brother's naturally very, very skinny and tall, but I'm built just like my mom. Like, we are not twiggy people. Like, we're not big at all, but like,
To go back just a little bit, I brought up that, big feelings thing. When these things were happening, were you lashing out at all? Or like when you're trying to process all of this shit that's happening to you, were there days where you would like stay home from school because you're, so depressed? Or what was reactionary wise, like what was going on?
so like at home, I would throw things a lot and just like scream. I'd like stomp around, and like my parents just thought I was being bratty. I would find like people that were lower on the totem pole than me at school and like say me like lash out at them.
Okay.
So like I was kind of a bully to a couple of the like I actually apologized to one after we graduated. I was like, "Hey, I was a big cunt to you and I'm sorry." Um and she's like, "Oh, well, thanks for apologizing, and I mean, it was a bad time for everybody, I think, so we're good." Like it wasn't cuz she was telling me how she like bought a new pair of jeans and how she was excited that they were a size 2. And God, I feel awful about this, but I looked at her and I said, there's no way that you're a size 2."
Mm.
Because I hated my body, so I let like and totally uncalled for. Like, what the fuck, Ashley? Um, so just like shit like that. Like I
Yeah.
could be kind of a mean girl to like people that there weren't very many people lower on the totem pole than me, but the couple that were, I was a bitch too. Um, and like, yeah, just a lot of like temper tantrumy type stuff at home, but
Yeah.
I never really stayed home from school because grades were really important. Like, if
Mm.
I wasn't getting good grades, like, my parents would be disappointed, and I didn't want them to be disappointed because I needed their, like, love and attention, and, like, I had to be perfect, and that's, like, with the weight too and, like, how I would dress. Like, I wanted love so bad that I, like, just the not eating and stuff, it was I wanted to be in control of how others viewed me. I wanted to be worthy of others. It progressed to the point where because it went untreated, along came James. This motherfucker. You should be in fucking prison if you're watching this. But
This is
so
still in high school or after high school?
this is high school, my junior year. I actually met him at the health club. Um,
There's a lot of stuff to be happening
yeah,
as a teenager.
yeah. Um, nobody liked him. Like my parents and stuff didn't like him, but I didn't care because he was confident and athletic and tall and like that tall, dark, and handsome kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which really looking back, I look at pictures, he was fucking goofy looking. I don't fucking know.
But that confidence thing, it's something to if you can become attached to this person, it's a safety thing too, because now you guys can't shit on me. Look at this, person that I'm with. Clearly there's something about me, right? That you guys should be more accepting because everybody likes this fucking asshole.
Yeah, clearly I'm worthy. So, of course, like things started off great. He was very nice to me, took me out on dates. We did like cutesy stuff together, and then like little things started to happen. And this was like 3 months after we started dating, where he would be like, same with like similar stuff to what Jordan would say, like, "Oh, you're gonna eat that? You know, your friends don't really like you."
Oh no.
So he really isolated
I was
me. Like
gonna say,
I felt like everyone hated me but him, and like that's when stuff started to get physical. He would like shove me, he would throw shit at me. I remember very clearly there was one day, this would have been my junior year still cuz he was a senior, and we were at his friend's mom's house. It was me and like a few of his guy friends, and he was talking about how he was doing all of these drugs. And I had never been like at this point in my life, I'd never had a drink beyond like a sip of my dad's beer. I'd never smoked weed. I'd never done anything. So like it was a shock to me to find out that the guy I was dating was doing like a lot of stuff.
mm.
And I was like, how like are you doing this stuff all the time? Because that can't really be like our brains are still developing and that can't be good for you. And he got so mad at me because I said that in front of his friends. His friends weren't mad or upset or anything. Like he just flipped the fuck out. He started screaming and throwing things. And his friend is like, "Man, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "You know what, you guys, I'm just gonna leave." So I left and like he chased after me and he was screaming. He had me cornered like up against my car. So I opened the door to try to get in. So he was like kind of leaning on like the open door like this,
Oh,
like
okay. Yeah.
and I'm just like and he's like 6'2", 6'3",
Jeez.
and his friends are like, "Dude, what are you doing?" Like and then he punches like downward and I like dodged. So he didn't hit me in the face, but he was real close. So he ended up punching the frame of my Pontiac Grand Am. Her name was Shirley. She was a cool car.
Surely didn't deserve that.
No, he dented the frame with his fist. Can you imagine if that hit my face? I would
God.
like not have part of my face. It hurt his hand. And he like flipped out that he like ran and he was doing laps around the house like a
What
fucking
the fuck?
yeah. So I'm like, and his friend Eric was like, "You should just leave." So I, like, left, and, like, stuff progressed from there, so it went from, like, him throwing things at me
Well, wait,
and,
wait, wait, wait,
like
wait. Okay, so he punches Shirley.
Mhm.
Um, what was how would he try to reconcile or like get you to forgive him for, or was the move
'Cause it was my fault because I said something in front of his friends I shouldn't have said. It made him look uncool.
so he wouldn't even apologize? He was just
Mm-mm.
fuck.
Mhm. So it was my fault, and that's why he's like, "None of my friends like you, none of your friends like you. I'm the only one that's ever going to love you. Your own parents don't even like you. You're a disappointment." And it wasn't never all said at the same time. It was all like he was very good at, like, sandwiching those things in with, like, semi-positive things.
Yeah,
Um,
because it's a great thing that I love you.
yeah,
You suck at this. You don't listen to Limp Bizkit, but I love you. I love you.
yeah,
But that's also why you can never leave.
exactly.
Ah!
And, uh, I would have, like, bruises and stuff in, like, weird places. He was a wrestler, to add context to this too, so, like,
Mm.
he wouldn't always have to, like, actually hit me. For one, he was so big that him just, like, standing up and, like, looking down at me, I'd do what he wanted. Him raising his voice at me, I'd do what he wanted. He would pin me down and, like, crack my feet
What?
until I cried, and then he would laugh.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I have a weird thing with my feet.
Did you have any friends who would try to get you away from him?
Katie, my sister, she's like, "Ashley, I hate him. He doesn't actually love you. I don't think he loves anyone," which she was right, he doesn't.
Did he ever try to get physical with her?
No.
No. Okay.
But God, Katie's brave. I fucking love her so much. So he was belittling me, at my friend's house. We were all hanging out, and he was like, I forget what the fuck he was saying because I would kind of dissociate at this point because this is my senior year. I'd just dissociate and he'd talk at me very loudly.
Yeah.
But he wasn't full on yelling because people were watching. So, but Katie got up in his face and was like, "How dare you talk to my friend like that? You can just get the fuck out." And he did.
Ooh.
Well, because I never stood up to him.
Right.
So and she's smaller than me. She's like 5'3". And was like, she also had an eating disorder. So she was even thinner than I was.
Oh fuck.
Yeah. We looked like cokeheads or something. It was not good. It was not hot. But in that time frame, it was because that was the heroin chic time frame, the 2000s.
Yeah. Paris Hilton.
Yeah, she's so skinny.
She has a lisp for some reason.
I was thinking have you seen Supernatural?
Yeah.
So Paris Hilton is in an episode of that, and these girls that are being like interviewed by the police, I was copying their voice because they're like,
Oh.
yeah, it was Paris Hilton, and she was so skinny, and it's just, as I watch that now as an adult, I'm like, oh my God, like that was the pretty is that you were really fucking skinny,
Low-rise jeans.
just nasty,
Whale tails.
fucking awful, but. I mean, not to say like some people are naturally that small and like go you, but like not everybody is, and we should just love all body types.
Well, and especially now, what we're really seeing is what that could potentially translate to. Like we know too much now. We have the curse of knowledge. So we see somebody super skinny, and we're like, "Uh-oh, who hurt you?"
Yeah, and it's like the media. That was in my senior year. We were still together. He was going to school at St. John's. And that's when I started going to visit him on the weekends. My dad hated this idea. He did not want me to go up and visit him on the college campus. But my mom is like, she's about to be 18 and she's going to do this anyway. And here's where, like, sometimes my mom really was right on things. She was right. I would have. So she was like, "Hey, Ken, that's my dad's name. Let's just
Is
let
your
her
mom's name
go."
Barbie?
Robin.
Oh, so close.
Yeah. Um, and she's like, "Let's just let her go." Like, neither of my parents liked him. And I found this out later. And I'm like, "Why didn't you guys sit me down and have a serious talk about this?" And they're like, my dad was like, "Well, I kind of regret not doing it." And I'm like, "Well, it's okay. Like, it's in
You
the
also have
past."
that thing of like Romeo and Juliet thing, the forbidden romance.
Yeah.
Yeah, that type of thing where it's like, I forbid you to see this person. Then you're like, oh, now I want to go and see them even more. So yeah, you have that in the back of your head too. Is like at least like you're out and open about being like seeing this guy. So if I were to try to, restrict you from seeing him, then things could get real sketchy. So
Yeah, so I feel like that's valid on my parents' end of them feeling like their hands were tied. I totally get that.
yeah.
And I've talked to them about this because my dad recently, like, he apologized to me for not. He's like, he's like, knowing that you went through all of this stuff, like, and that, like, I just feel like I didn't do enough or I wasn't a good enough dad. And I'm like, and as I was telling my therapist about this, my therapist's name is Bob. How cool is that?
Oh, Bab.
Um, Bob was like, "Oh, this makes sense." And I'm like, "Huh?" And he's like, "Well, because you were talking to your dad about something serious with you, and then like his feelings get brought out about like how he feels bad about you feeling bad. So it like shifted. So then I shifted into trying to like make my dad feel better because I love both of my parents and I don't want them to feel bad because there was no malicious intent from my parents. Um, like they genuinely did not know what to do or how to handle this situation. They really
Yeah.
didn't. And it would be I can imagine that it was scary for them too. Um, so I would go and visit him, and this is where alcohol enters the
So
chat.
T-Pain. Oh, about the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and
Okay, speaking of alcohol, I'm gonna pee pee real quick.
okay. So I would go visit him. So he had broken up with me actually when he went to college at first
Of
because
course.
he wanted to like experience college without a girlfriend. And like looking back, that's actually like not an unusual thing.
No, very common.
So, but it really hurt my feelings, of course, because he had just taken my virginity like 2 weeks before he broke up with me. Yeah.
Was he
That was
also a virgin? Do you know? Like if you'd taken each other's
oh,
virginity?
yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
wait, no, it wasn't. He broke up with me multiple times. I'm sorry. So the first time
I
he broke up
assumed.
with me was he was actually still a senior. And that's how my mom knew I lost my virginity
Mm.
because my reaction to him breaking up with me the first time, she brought me up a big thing of chocolate. So this is where my mom, when she's on it, she is really on it. Like, totally the right thing to do. Very grateful for her doing this. She brought me up a big, like the bell-shaped chocolate things with the hazelnut thingies.
Oh, yeah.
I forget what they're called. Some fancy ass fucking chocolate. It's delicious. Anywho. And she also brought a paper bag. And in that paper bag was condoms. And I'm like, Mom. And she's like, I know that you had sex with him, Ashley, or you wouldn't be this sad.
Mm.
And I was like, you're right. And then she held me and I cried. And it felt really nice to have my mom there holding me while I cried.
Yeah.
My brother later found those condoms in my room and brought them to her and was like, look at what Ashley has. And she's like, I bought those for your sister. Don't go through her shit. Put that back.
Nice.
Yeah. So yes, my mom would lose her shit sometimes when I was little, but like She is very loving, and I don't wanna paint her as, like, this bad parent because she really is a very good parent. She just didn't have all the tools at all the points, but she fucking tried, and I love her dearly.
Well, and I mean, some parents are better at parenting older children.
Yeah, like, she was on point with me as a teenager, like, absolutely on it. She knew that I was having sex with him, but get to when I'm a senior and he's a freshman in college. And he had broken up with me, but then he got back together with me. Um, Later on, like he'd only broken up with me for like a month because he'd break up with me for a little bit just to make me love him more.
Oh, I was gonna say, would he break up with you, hook up with somebody, and then
Oh, he was cheating on me and stuff while we were together. His wasn't for sleeping with other people because he'd do that anyway.
really?
His was just to fuck with my head. And where I already have attachment issues, this is making it worse. So I like really, really clung to him and he could like basically do no wrong. But funny story, when he cheated on me one time, it was with two girls at a party. And one of them was so drunk that she puked all over him. And he actually told me about this. Like I was supposed to feel bad for him getting puked on. I laughed. And of course, he screamed at me for laughing. But anywho, so stuff started to get worse as we were at the college dorms because there was no adult supervision. So he really wanted to do anal and I didn't. But it's like, well, I can't say no because he's going to do it anyway and he's going to make it much worse for me. So that was the first time he raped me. And I bled out of my ass for 2 weeks. So I found out if I drink, it doesn't hurt. So that's when I started drinking. And it started where I would only drink when I would be on the college campus with him. So I thought like, oh, it's fine. It just makes it more fun.
Mm,
And he introduced me to weed too, which I really liked weed because it was like really chill. It was definitely different than the alcohol.
is it amygdala? Is is it that alcohol is an amygdala inhibitor?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Well, and because alcohol is one of the few substances that crosses the blood-brain barrier, and it works from front to back on your brain. So the reason that we feel intoxicated from alcohol is because when we ingest it, our body actually converts it. It's like a chemical process that I learned
Mm.
about in like human biology or some shit like that when I was in college. But it has a chemical reaction in the body. It turns it into like a legit poison. But that poison is something that your liver and your kidneys can filter.
Ah,
So it's poisoning you. And the poison piece of it is what your brain starts to shut off. So, like, your frontal lobes go first, which is why you start to feel that, like, euphoric, like, I don't really care. I'll sing super loud and I'll dance like nobody's watching. Like, and you get that fun, like, kind of euphoric
yeah,
feeling. If you could stick there, it's really not doing a whole lot of damage as long as you're not, like, drinking a lot every day or.
sure.
But I'm an alcoholic. So I don't just stay there. As you continue to drink, it moves farther back in the brain and you'll get the vision stuff, lack of coordination, lack of the slurred speech, and alcohol poisoning. What people don't actually, a lot of people think, well, it's when you puke and you choke on it. It's like, no,
Oh,
you're
well,
suffocating. That's your body. Yeah, you throw up because your body is literally being poisoned. Yes, but it shuts off your whole brain if you continue to drink, and then your heart stops, and that's like that's how you die
I
from.
see. Okay.
I would get drunk, but I wasn't getting to the point where I was blackout. I was just drinking enough to handle James. And when I did finally turn him in 2020, so we'll get to that later, how that happened. But the cops, when they asked me, like, well, did you fight him? I looked at them and I'm like, well, you haven't spoken to him yet, so you can't visualize how big this dude is. But no, I just let him. But it was still rape. And they're like, they looked at, I'll never forget the look on the Stearns County detective. The Wright County detective was actually really nice. There were two, because he raped me in Wright County and in Stearns County, because it happened the whole last year of our relationship. He raped me a lot. The Stearns County detective just kind of looked at me like, well, you didn't fight. Like, how do we know you didn't want it? And it's like, yeah, because I totally want to bleed out of my asshole
Yeah.
for 2 weeks. That's my idea of fun, you fuckers. But the Wright County detective was very nice. His name's Barrett. He was cool. Barrett Christus
Stearns
was the Wright County one. Stearns, I don't remember that fucker's name.
Okay.
But
the Stearns one was the one that was more advocating for you?
because most of the rapes happened at the campus, that was Stearns County.
Okay.
So Wright County handed it over to Stearns. They weren't able to do anything because it was so long ago that it's my word against his. And I get that. I do. But how, like, uncaring the Stearns County detective seemed to be, like, was what I have a problem with.
Wait, see, this is what keeps throwing me off. So who was on your side?
Technically, both of them, Stearns and Wright County. Wright County was Barrett, and he was very nice. The Stearns County detective was nice, but he wasn't good at talking to survivors.
Oh, okay.
Just how he worded some things, like, just made me feel like I was being raped all over again. And it not intentional. I don't think he goes out to, like, be a dick. So stuff progressed, and I just, like, drank through that. But when I graduated my senior year, I had finally had enough. And, like, Katie, my sister, kept telling me, she's like, this guy is scary. And I started realizing on the college campus, because it was a larger group of people, and, like, these people weren't as close to James. So they really liked me. Like, all of his friends fucking loved me. And, like, they would stand up for me. There was one time we were sitting in a car. This was actually one of his high school buddies. We always called him Stove. Stove is cool shit. And we went to pick up James from something, and he was complaining about being sunburnt. And I was like, oh, yeah, like, make sure to put aloe on it. And, like, tomorrow when you're out at work, like, remember to wear sunscreen. I was just trying to be nice.
Yeah.
And he, like, flipped the fuck out at me. It was like, don't fucking tell me what to do, you fucking bitch. And nah, nah, nah. And Stove looked at him and said, dude, if you're going to fucking talk to her like that, you can get the fuck out of my car. And he shut up. And then I started paying attention to how, like, his friends at college treated me. And they were always excited to see me when I would come up for a visit. They would talk to me more than they would talk to him. They continually told me that I was too pretty to be dating James, which I was like, I'm pretty? He calls me fat and ugly all the time. Oh, but you guys think I'm pretty? You guys think I'm too nice for him? Like they just adored me. So, like, over time, like, that feedback from these other people, like, I started realizing, like, fuck, like, something's wrong with this. So then there was one day we were sitting in his dorm, in James's dorm, and he was telling me about this paper that he was writing for one of his classes. And it was about the human population, how, like, we have too many people on the planet, stuff like that. He was writing, his argument was murder is good.
I was going to say genocide.
Yeah. And I'm like, I get what you're saying from, like, an environmental standpoint, but, like, murdering people, it seems like there could be, you know, other things we could do besides that.
Like contraceptive.
Yeah. Or, like, you know, wasting less, or, like, switching from, like, paper to hemp, or, you know, like, you know, little stuff. not murdering people. But he was like, and so I asked him, I'm like, what if somebody murdered your mom? And I shit you not, Chris, he turned to look at me because he was typing, and he turned and he made this like creepy eye contact with me, and he said, I would know that it was for the best.
Whoa. What the fuck? That's
Yeah.
such a weird response. Oh my God.
Yeah. At that moment, oh, I'm getting goosebumps even now. I'm like, this man is going to kill me. If I stay with him, I am dead. So it took me, a few more months, because this would have been in like March, and I dumped him in like June of 2010. I was like, I gotta fucking leave. I gotta leave. And so, like, after that, because this was March, and then prom was in May, I believe, was when prom was. It was my senior prom. He belittled me in front of everyone, like usual. He made me leave early. So we were leaving, and I was like, hey, like, I stayed the whole time for your senior prom. Like I'm really upset that you wanted us to leave and that you didn't hang out with me at all. You were basically just showboating in front of my classmates this whole time. Like, everybody was like, he's so cool. Except for my actual friends, because they all hated him. But he got mad at me for saying that, like, I just wanted to go home. I didn't want to go back to his place. And he started screaming and hitting his steering wheel. And I thought he was going to crash and we were going to fucking die. And I'm like, oh my God, if we get to his house, his parents are going to be asleep. He's going to rape me again, which is what happened, because I couldn't say no to him. So he ruined my prom. I still have pictures on Facebook of us. I looked fucking great. He looked
Why do you still have those pictures?
Because I don't delete pictures on like Facebook at all. I don't have any like physical pictures of him, but like I also kind of like it's a good reminder when those pop up, because I look so happy in the pictures. It's a good reminder of like, look how good you fake this shit, Ashley. Like, are you being real? It reminds me to like check myself. My therapist has to check me all the time too. Like, Ashley, is this how you actually feel, or are you giving me the therapist answer? I'm like, shut the fuck up, Bob. Obviously, I'm giving you the therapist answer, but here's how I actually feel. He continued to like try to contact me here and there for about a year after we broke up.
Oh, so it actually stuck.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, I only had to dump him once. He left me a lot of times, but I
Right.
dumped him once. This is where like my spiral kind of began. And I thought that, oh, I'm just a college girl partying, because it's so socially acceptable to do that. So I was drinking every night. I thought I was having a good time. I think part of it was, I have some good memories because I had, a pretty wild friend group at that time, and we just did a bunch of stupid shit. We all lived. A lot of us went to rehab and stuff. I was having a lot of sex. So it's funny that people thought that I was a slut, but then I wasn't. And then I took that and I'm like, I'll show you, world. I'll show you what a fucking slut is.
I was going to say, don't you find that happens a lot? People who are victims of abuse and things like that. Later down the road, it seems like there's, and not that there's anything wrong with it from like a moral standpoint, but I always think of like the reasoning behind it, because how did you feel after you would have sex with people?
Well, right away, I didn't feel bad about anything. I actually felt I felt powerful, because I would get drunk and I would pick up these guys, and like everything was on my terms and I was outplaying them. But like over time, I just started to feel empty and like unloved. And the only thing that would make me feel good is like being told that like I'm pretty, or like being told that I'm sexy, or being wanted sexually by like these just not great dudes. Because of course I wasn't healthy, so I wasn't attracting healthy people. Healthy people were like, stay away from her, which fair, um, totally fair. But yeah, I wasn't doing well, so the people I was around weren't doing well. Um, my parents did mention to me, because when I was 21, one of my friends tackled me. He thought it would be funny. So this wasn't malicious.
Oh, okay.
But he was aiming for like the couch, but he tackled me onto this like oak table.
Oh, fuck.
And my jaw hit the edge of the table, and my chin was over here. And this part of my jaw was like tilted down. My jaw was busted in two. There was a big gap. My dad had to come pick me up.
What the fuck?
And he was not happy.
Wait,
naturally.
Did you not go to the hospital?
Not right away. He
Oh
took me
my God.
home. And the next day he's like, Ashley, I'm pretty sure your jaw's broken. Like, we need to get you x-rayed. So his dentist actually came in on a Saturday to x-ray my jaw. And I hear him look at the x-ray and he goes, oh my God. And I'm like, that doesn't sound good. And he's like, it's not. Come here and look at this. And I was like, fuck. So then I needed to get oral surgery, and like my jaw was wired shut. Like there was pins holding it together here.
You were Kanye West.
Yeah. Kanye West broke his jaw?
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't surprise me. Somebody punch him?
His big album was Through the Wire.
Oh.
Yeah. Because he was literally rapping through wire. Because
That's...
if you listen to that first album, he sounds like a lot of his stuff is kind of like this. And
yeah, because you got to talk like this.
yeah.
So I continued to drink, though, while my jaw was wired shut. And my mom, she approached me one day and said, Ashley, I think you're an alcoholic. And I said, I'm not your mother, is what I told her. Because my grandma, my maternal grandmother, is an alcoholic.
So you knew that addiction was somewhere in the family lineage.
Oh, my dad used to do a shit ton of cocaine.
Ooh.
And he has a beer here and there now, but like he doesn't do anything else. He's like, I won't even smoke weed because I'm scared that it would trigger me to want to do harder drugs again. Yeah. And I'm like, yep, Dad, don't fucking risk it. Don't risk it.
Activate the fiend.
Yeah. Because he was addicted to everything. He was an addict and an alcoholic. So like how he's able to moderate alcohol, like I was there last summer and he ordered this like pina colada thing. And he's like, oh God, this thing's too strong. He drank like half of it and then like just dumped the other half because he didn't like feeling intoxicated. So like I wouldn't really consider him a true alcoholic then because so I think he's more of an addict versus an alcoholic, but he just doesn't like to overdo anything now, which is good.
Yeah.
So I totally blew off my mom on that. So I was just going down this like fucking dark hole of booze. I was still like, I would do drugs here and there. Like if cocaine was at a party, I would do it. I never bought it for myself because it's fucking expensive. I did Molly a few times. I really liked that. That was fun. But like I knew how much it damages your brain. So I did it. I had a good time on it twice and I'm like, I'm done with that. So I was always able to put down other shit. And so this is when I was in college with doing my undergrad. And then I graduated in May of 2016. And I started working at this locked inpatient psych unit in Annandale. And I loved my job. So I cut way down on drinking. I pretty much quit. I would when I did drink, I would binge drink, and it would be on like a Friday night or a Saturday night because I refused to go into work hungover because I cared about my clients more than I cared about myself. There's a pattern in that, like my whole life. So I thought that I had a handle on it and that it was fine, right? So I worked there for 3.5 years and I'm managing stuff pretty good. I was in a long-term relationship. I was living with the guy, good old Steve. We lived together for 3 years out of the 4 years we dated. But as soon as I moved in with him, I was just taking care of everything, like he would pay half the rent and that's it. We lived in like a duplex. It was an old farmhouse. So it was $200 a month to heat and cool that motherfucker. All the groceries, all the cleaning, everything. I felt like I was his mother and that really negatively affected our relationship, oddly enough, right?
Yeah. You turn into a roommate or family member versus,
It just wasn't good. And then like I was like, oh, fuck, I don't really know what to do, but I guess like
did you bring these things up to him or were you bottling all that shit?
Oh no, I told him.
You did.
Very clearly too. I actually did a pretty good job of doing that as time went on though, because he continued to push those boundaries. He never respected them, but I didn't leave like a normal person.
Well, because he's not hitting you, so why not stay?
Yeah, he's not hitting me and he's not raping me, so this is the best I'm going to get. And I signed up for school, for grad school finally. And then I quit my job at the hospital because I couldn't do that job while going to grad school. So I lost that stability and I started drinking a lot more. And I ended up cheating on Steve with one of my male friends. And I felt like shit. Because I'm like, oh my God, now I'm like, yeah, he's been shitty, but what I did was shitty and that's on me. So I did tell him. And that really, of course, damaged the relationship. But I wanted to break things off. And he's like, no, I want to make this work. You're going to be starting school. We can do this.
Because our living situation is pretty tight and I don't want to lose that.
Yeah. So we stayed together. But then like towards school was getting close and I was raped by a friend of mine. Or somebody I thought was a friend. I'd known him for 11 years and I knew his baby mama for 12. Their baby was in the other room when he raped me. And so was she. Because we were drinking, because I had finally I was talking about breaking up with Steve because this was after I had cheated. So I was talking with my two friends and then we all decided we were going to go to bed. And then I wake up and he's on top of me and inside of me and my arms are like pinned under me. He was like on top of my back. And so I fought him off of me. I got one of my arms free and I elbowed him in the face a few times and he got up and just walked away. And I was too drunk to leave. I didn't want to tell Steve what happened because I figured he would be like, well, you cheated on me before, so you're probably lying.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel comfortable telling him. I actually got drunk and told Katie, my sister, and she brought it up to me when I was sober the next day, like, hey, so you told me about what happened with Fro. I'm like, I did? And she's like, yeah, you should probably turn him in. And I'm like, oh, fuck, well, it's not going to matter. They're not going to believe me, which is absolutely fucking true. Because I did turn him in and they didn't believe me. And he actually, the cop, it was a Maple Grove cop. So shout out to Maple Grove Police Department. You guys fucking suck at dealing with survivors. He told me, he's like, well, since you were drinking, you got yourself intoxicated. So really, like, we can't do anything. Plus, he said he didn't do it. And you didn't go to the hospital. So we don't have any evidence. So like
Yeah,
next
how could
time,
you?
yeah. So next time this happens, go to the hospital right away. So then we can actually do something. So it's just, so I asked the cop, I said, so if I go back over there and Fro gets himself intoxicated and he passes out, so I can cut off his dick and then it's his fault? And the cop was like, no. And I'm like, oh, so it's only rape then. Cool, thanks. And then I hung up. So, like, my life was spiraling. This is 2019. I'm drinking a lot more now. My life was, because I didn't have that job that I cared about anymore. Drinking a lot, moved in with some other guy. He's actually really nice. We're still friends. He had lost his fiance to a brain aneurysm. She died in his
Oh,
arms.
God damn.
Him I won't name just out of respect to him because
Sure.
he was in a bad spot. I was at a bad spot. We were living together. We were sleeping together. We were secretly dating because he was like the boss at the restaurant I was working at the time.
Oh. Wait, you guys lived together and worked together?
Yeah. And everybody knew we lived together, yet nobody knew we were fucking. And it's like, we're both hot. We're both fucked up. How are like, of course we're fucking. And it was great. The sex was great.
Well, yeah, that trauma bonding.
Yeah. Oh, we would sit in the kitchen on the floor, drinking out of the bottle, crying together. And it was just great.
Oh, God.
Like, but of course, things crashed and burned because I continued to get worse as he started to heal. And he wanted to end things because he's like, ultimately, I can't give you what you want. Like, you want like marriage and kids and stuff. I don't want any of that.
Interesting.
So he broke up with me on Valentine's Day in 2020, which was shitty.
Dude, I can't believe it.
In his defense, I don't think he knew it was Valentine's Day. At the time he was working, he went months without a day off and was working like 16-hour shifts. And I continued to like live with him because I couldn't afford to move out because it was pandemic and I was still in school.
Oh, God, this was not that long ago.
Because this was what I count as like my relapse.
Okay.
Because I was like managing it. I was moderating because I'd
Sure.
only get blackout drunk once a month. So I wasn't an alcoholic.
What I like to call the controlled addict.
Mm-hmm.
Because your brain doesn't do that thing where it's like in panic mode, because at the end of the day, we still have control. Nobody's taken it away from us. We haven't been forced to remove the thing. There's the time and place for it.
Yeah, I love how I hear so much when people are like, well, you're only an addict or an alcoholic if there's law enforcement involvement. And I'm like, no, actually, no. Because you can function still, like, and still be a fucking addict, okay? Like,
Yeah. Some of us gold medal addicts can get a promotion while we're under the influence.
I was drunk through most of my undergrad, even at school. And I was drunk through most of my graduate program, too. And you know what? I got A's.
A's for alcoholic.
Oh, yeah. So I was like just in denial that it was an issue. And then I got a D-dub when I was 21, and then I got another one in 2020.
Amateur.
I know, 7 years apart, I almost made it to that one dropping off. But I blew a .287.
Good Lord. For your size, like, wow.
I think .4 is
Do you
dead.
remember?
Parts of it, yeah.
Wow.
They almost brought me to the hospital because of how much I blew, but they said that I was moving around and walking and stuff so well that they were like, we're dealing with somebody that isn't dying right now, but she should be, but she's fine. This is bad. But I had a panic attack because the officer that arrested me, tall, dark hair, just like James. So I started panicking. Luckily, this cop is a very good cop. Shout out Buffalo PD. I don't remember the cop's name. But did a great job handling me because I was combative and like I remember like I have flashes of
Yeah.
memory. So he got me. I crashed my car into a curb. He I called the cab that I didn't wait for and was like, "Yeah, I crashed my car. You need to come get me." And they're like, she's like, "You drove?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So I get into the cab because she comes to where I'm at. She's trying to push my car away from the railroad tracks. I was leaving Jay's Down Under in Buffalo. So it was like I was right about to hit 55. And
Oh.
yeah. So she was trying to push my car out of the way. Well, the cop saw everything because he was just kind of sitting in a like one of those little neighborhoods of townhouses over there. So he arrests me out of the front seat of the cab and he's trying to like ask me questions. And I'm like, "Sir, somebody popped my tire. That's why I had to call the cab. I've only had 2 drinks." Of course, during my pre-sentencing stuff, when they asked me, they're like, "Are you sticking with the 2 drinks?" I'm like, "No, obviously I had more than 2 drinks." He's like, "Do you know how much you drank?" I'm like, The whole bar. I don't know. It was a lot." But so he recognized, and then like there were 2 COs that I remember. Funny Ginger is the reason that I'm laughing in my mugshot. And then Kind Eyes was the female cop because I was freaking out. I call her Kind Eyes because she just had really friendly eyes.
Yeah.
And I couldn't see the rest of her face because it was COVID and she had a mask on.
Oh.
So I was screaming. I remember screaming and trying to climb through the wall because they have to have you squat and cough, you know?
Oh.
So I was like, thought I was going to get raped again. And that's when I actually reported the rapes. And the cop believed me enough to like report it to the detective. So they pulled me out the next day of my cell and were like, "Hey, we got to talk to you about this." So they did it. They really did a great job handling me for a shitty experience. It was pretty positive. When I was leaving, because my sister helped me post my bail, she said when she called to like post the bail, or to see when she could, because they let her like get my wallet out of wherever they locked it up to like use my card to post the bail. So she had to call the jail, and she said they were like laughing because apparently they thought I was kind of funny. When I was leaving, they were like, "Hey, good luck, you got this." And I'm like, "Thanks, you guys." Like it hasn't been nice, but it has. Like you guys were all great.
Sure.
I hope you have good rest of your shift. And I leave and then I go to work and then I got drunk
Oh.
the very next night. So people are like, "Oh, it was the 2 DWIs that got you sober." No. I didn't give a fuck about those DWIs. I should have, but I didn't, honestly. So it was really, I got into therapy after that. And I found out that I was using alcohol as a way to be able to have sex. And I was using sex as a way to feel loved and be in control.
Interesting. So were you like physically attracted to people, or was it that you were needing something and so you would drink because you were like, I need to feel something, but I can't get there without the use of alcohol?
Right. So
Okay.
I still cannot orgasm if I'm not comfortable. This whole time I was putting myself in danger. I'm really lucky that I didn't die because I went home with complete strangers. I had been drugged multiple times at different bars. And so, really, like me trying to be more confident and keep myself safe, like I was doing the opposite. But like this other persona sort of came out. So that's Jacqueline. She's tattooed on my back, actually.
Oh no.
She's
You have an alter Swigo?
yeah, my split.
Mm.
And for a long time I was really, because she started to come out when I was like 19. It was right after I left James, where I wasn't aware of her. My friends would be like, "Ashley, stuff gets like like where you feel threatened and all of a sudden you like turn into this monster. And I was like, oh. So over time, though, I started actually noticing her and I could feel her within me. And for a long time, I wanted to get rid of her. And in therapy, when I was in grad school, I processed my, the sexual assaults, which is why I'm not crying about them now because I processed them. Like I'm super comfortable talking about all the times I've been raped. Like people are like, you say it like you went to get a sandwich. And I'm like, well, yeah, because I can't change this shit. It happened.
And a lot of times for whatever reason, like it's the same thing with my suicides. Like I can talk about those, but if a like father and his kids like kind of sappy commercial comes on, I can fucking cry at that. But for some reason, yeah, these really intense traumatic things it seem like they should be really intense and traumatic like on paper,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, for whatever reason I can't, I don't know.
Well, I think it can be like if somebody's feeling detached from it, which I did for a long time. But when I went through therapy the first time, I cried a lot. Like I cried pretty much through every session, talking through all of this stuff. But having my therapist was male, and he was an older male, and I feel like because I sort of viewed him as like a father figure almost, and because of being close to my dad, it was really helpful to have. It's funny, his name is actually Steve as well, Steven.
But
Which
your
I had
dad
an
or
my therapist,
your
my
therapist?
first
Oh, this
therapist,
okay, gotcha.
because
Here,
he
turn
was
this guy a little bit, and there you go.
so that was my first therapist in grad school, and I stopped seeing him when I graduated. And he had shared with me, he's like, "Well, I think you're ready to be discharged." I was not ready to be discharged, because I had dealt with the trauma, but not the borderline. And he like didn't actually officially diagnose me with that, but like had mentioned that I probably have it. And
Like cluster B traits or something like that.
yeah. And like when I was working at the hospital, I always really liked working with borderline clients. And they all seem to really like trust me, and borderline people like flock together. So like looking back, I'm like, oh. But there's such a stigma with this disorder where like people are like, you're gonna go psycho and kill it. Like I tell all my clients that are borderline to not Google it. And like with my borderline clients, I will tell them that I also have borderline. Um, because they will come in thinking like this is a huge diagnosis. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's massive.
But like feeling like they're gonna be stuck in this horrible cycle of bad relationships and like self-hatred and emptiness and it's like and these shitty behaviors, and it's like, no, you're not going to be stuck there. For you can make the choice to address these things, and you can make changes. And I'm like, the creator of dialectical behavior therapy, I forget her name, but she has borderline personality disorder, and I am your therapist and I have borderline personality disorder. And they're like, you do? You actually get it? And I'm like, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's something that's I don't share with like that with clients that don't have borderline, because like I won't. I'll share stuff in session, but only if it's like relevant to that. So all my clients know some things about me, but they all know different things because it all depends upon what I feel like is going to make them more comfortable and feel like they can relate with me to make them talk more about them. It's kind of trickery, but that's sort of what therapy
I'm
is.
very familiar.
So, where was I going? Oh yeah, Jacqueline. So James, really, that trauma created her. She's a defense. And I was super ashamed of her. So part of me drinking was also trying to like shove that down, which is hilarious because I didn't have any control over Jacqueline when I was drinking. And like, I worked through in therapy that I wasn't ashamed of her anymore, which is why I got that big tattoo on my back,
Mhm.
of, like, my spirit animal, which is, like I think that wolf represents my dad, the calm one, and then there's, um oh, and to give some more context to why that like, how I know that that's my spirit animal. So my dad is, Cherokee, and there's Seminole on that side too, and his great-grandmother was full
Mm.
blood Cherokee, and she talked to him about spirit animals and stuff like that. My grandfather, which was my great-grandmother's son, just pretended that we were white, so, like, my dad didn't know a whole lot of the culture, so,
Mhm.
like, I don't know a whole lot about it, but, like, the stuff that my dad was able to remember, he told me.
I was
Um,
gonna say, so would you consider him white passing then?
yeah,
Yeah.
um, because he's got blue eyes and he does get really pale, but he can also tan really well, and he has this thick, black, beautiful hair, um, which he used to wear all the way down to his butt when he was a kid.
Woo!
He was a badass. My dad still is a badass. He's a fucking badass. But um so like I had this dream when I would have bad dreams, this whitish colored wolf would show up and it would like I would follow it and it would lead me like out of trouble. And because it was the same wolf every time, like that's how I knew that that's your spirit animal.
I
It
see.
shows up in dreams. At least in my great grandmother's native culture. Every tribe is very different. And like
Mhm.
Cherokee is a big tribe, so they have like different, I don't know like what section I'm in. I don't fucking know. But so like Jacqueline I viewed as the snarly wolf is how she's portrayed on my back. And I finally realized that's the part of me that loves me. Jacqueline is the part of me that loves me. She's the part of me that will fight and not placate. She won't fawn. 'Cause I fawned a lot
Mm.
is a trauma response with James. I would just shut down and let him
Oh,
do,
I got you. Yes.
yeah, fawning is the 4th one because it's fight, flight, freeze, fawn. And people always forget about fawn.
Yeah.
Um, and, like, so when I quit drinking, I got a lot more control over Jacqueline. And now, like, I really accept her, but I pushed her like, I kind of pushed her back a little too much because now, like, I'm working through I still accept garbage, and,
Mm.
like, I'll set boundaries with these men, but then if they cross them, I allow them to until it starts to annoy me, and then Jacqueline comes out
Mm.
and will set the boundary again. But I create excuses for them and shit, so, like, I still fawn a bit. So I'm trying right now in my journey. I celebrated 3 years sober on the 28th of this
Woo!
month. Fuck yeah, I never thought I'd be here. But I'm working on how to incorporate Jacqueline more into just me. Because she is me, and she's the part of me that cares, and she's like the stronger like I'm not going to take your shit. So before when I was drinking, I'd hit people, and like my ex that I was living with, that the one that lost his
Mm.
fiance, then we trauma bonded. I was abusive towards him. Like I'd throw shit, I would scream at him. All the doors in that apartment are broken because like, I would flip out, after we broke up because I was still so attached to him,
Sure.
and because he didn't show that attachment back to me, like, I treated him as if, like, he was doing me wrong when he wasn't.
Well,
Um,
I mean, you guys, how long did you live together?
Almost a year, but we only dated for 4 months of that.
Oh, sorry. After you broke up, how long did you guys live together?
6 months?
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm surprised he didn't kick me out. When I got sober, he was the first person that I made amends with. And that's, why we still talk. He apologized to me because he wasn't great towards me either. Um, but like I was more physical with stuff and he was not. Like, we both said really mean things to each other and stuff. But, like, we're good now. Like, I was like, "Hey, I'm really sorry. I was a piece of shit. You shoulda kicked me out. I would've kicked me out if I was you. You're so nice for not." And, like, I just wanted him to know that I was very sorry and that he didn't deserve any of my nasty behavior, any
Mm.
of the mean things that I said. And I grew a lot from that relationship. I realized that not every breakup has to be chaotic and that not every boyfriend I have that doesn't work has to be because they're horrible. Um, so like I actually do have couple boyfriends that are exes that stuff didn't work out but were friendly and I don't think I would have ever been able to get to that point like cuz I thought that oh for it to not work out they have to be awful. And
Mm.
that's not true. And also them not raping and hitting me doesn't mean it's a good relationship. So seeing like cuz I'm so good at extremes, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So finding that middle ground. So it's been quite the journey and um I'm still going on it cuz sobriety is just the first step.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell people. I'm like the process quitting drinking was the easiest part.
Yeah.
The social aspect is still kind of shitty.
Oh, sure.
Just because everybody fucking drinks, it seems.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, oh, you don't drink? How do you have fun? And it's like,
I don't. Thank you very
yeah,
much.
like, oh, wow. Like, it just makes me kind of sad for them, though.
Yeah, well, it's hard to like I try to convey it to people, which is like when you have a bad day at work and your first thought is as soon as I get home I'm going to have a beer or whatever, you're admitting to yourself in what seems like a small way, I'm incapable of processing what happened throughout the day. So I need this alcohol to either help me forget it or to be able to deal with what happened. And so when I explain it in that regard, like the more that you do that throughout life, the less capable you are of handling your shit. You may potentially be more prone to being an addict, who fucking knows, but um yeah, that's so that stuff, that journey is what yeah, that's I agree that now that I think about it. That is the biggest part because I'd forgotten that I had anxiety. I'd forgotten how bad my depression was, all this shit. And then yeah, when you don't have that thing to dull all that shit, you fucking flip out and it's not great. Or you just isolate and yeah. And then you're more prone to relapse and all that fun stuff.
And it can be very isolating because when I first quit drinking, I lost a lot of people that I thought were my friends. All of my real friends were so relieved that I quit drinking because they were all worried because they actually give a shit. But my circle got a lot smaller. I quit smoking weed too at that time because I had never had consequences from weed, but I wanted to prove to myself that I could quit everything, and I actually stopped for 8 months, um, with the smoking weed as well till my nightmares started to come back.
Mm.
So I would relive all of the rapes.
Oh God.
And yeah, and it's really hard to help process because most of my caseload is PTSD. So it was really hard to help clients process when I was reliving my trauma every night. And I looked into getting like on meds for nightmares and like all
There's
of the
meds for nightmares?
Mhm.
Whoa.
But like the side effects of them were like not great.
Is it just a king size caramello?
I forget caramel. Aren't those like
Those are like the chocolate bars that are kind of point up a little bit and then it's just filled with caramel.
oh, those are good.
Yeah.
I started smoking again at night to get rid of like the nightmares, but because I smoke so little, I still get to have dreams, which
Okay.
is cool. Um, but I was nervous about that at first because I was like, "Oh, but what if I have a problem with this too?" But then as, like, time went on, I've been able to only smoke at night. When I go on vacation, I'm not, like, fiending for it, like, with alcohol,
Yeah.
I couldn't not. Strictly, it's with alcohol because it's connected to James. Because I was able to drop Coke. I was able to the last time I did Coke, it was actually not Coke, it was meth. I figured it out once I snorted it. This was in 2019, and it hurt real bad, and I was like, "That wasn't Coke." And it scared me so bad because of how shitty I felt is because you just don't come down off of it.
Yeah. But how clean was your
Oh
apartment?
my god. I was living with my parents, so I had to come down,
Oh, jeez.
um, in front of my parents. So it scared me so much that it wasn't what somebody said it was, that I just never did hard drugs again. I just really, really needed booze.
Well, and you also start to do alcoholic math where, like, you know that I've drank X amount, so in 5 minutes, I'm going to feel this way. And if you start to notice that, like, you take a drink of something and then you're like, maybe your stomach feels weird or you get a little dizzy or something, you're like, oh, okay, so in 5 minutes, this is going to be a little worse. So I'm not going to drink any more.
Oh, I never did that part.
Oh,
I just kept going. Oh, I was drinking a 175 of Windsor every day. Every day. I was spending over $800 a month on alcohol because I wasn't chasing that with like water or something. I was chasing it with beer or Trulies.
mm,
So it was a 175 every day. Mint, um, my ex actually started hiding his alcohol in his trunk because I would drink everything.
that was, yeah. I mean, yeah. So I talk about alcoholic math, but at the same time, yeah, saying that
But
you were chasing it with that shit.
you want that for the feeling of the first 3 drinks, and every alcoholic I talk to, that's that alcoholic math part that you're talking about where it's like, if I could just feel like this for the whole time, and you try to, like, keep that, but I couldn't. I would just black out and become ridiculous. Like, some of the stories that I hear about me, I'm like, "I did that?" Because it's shutting down the memory part of your brain, and, like, that amygdala, that fight flight, like, it dulls it down for a bit, but then it would supercharge it when I
Mm.
would get threatened.
Oh, that makes sense.
So, like, I was known as the slapper at, the Red Vest, because like, I would be nice twice. So, you hit on me and I turn you down nicely, and then you keep pushing and I turn you down nicely again. You continue to push me, you're getting a backhand across your fucking face, and I always wore rings on purpose.
Ooh.
I never got kicked out for doing that because they always saw that, like, these guys, like, weren't leaving me alone, but it's like, also, why didn't you tell them to leave me alone? Why didn't you kick them out before I had to, like,
Yeah.
assault them, basically? Because it's like, you're grabbing on me, you're like, it's bad. Like, my brain goes to, you're going to rape and murder me, probably. Even though maybe, like, they were just drunk and being dumb and they weren't actually a threat. So, like, my ability to, like, know what's a threat and what's not, I need to, like, listen to my gut more.
Okay. So many things. And you're clearly going to have to come back because where I thought we were going to talk more about addiction, I think the backstory for why addiction became a partner makes a lot more sense. And the the other thing with your relationships that's kind of curious to me is, like, bipolar, BPD, it's what is it? I hate you, don't leave me.
Yep.
right? That whole thing. It's interesting that you almost never had the chance to do that because you were in such tumultuous relationships. They were presented to you. um, but yeah, it's interesting to think of like how over the last, I guess, couple of years, because this is pretty new. I didn't realize how new all this shit was.
Yeah.
Um, so how about this? With what you're going through currently, because you definitely seem in a better place. When I first met you, that you were very like excited and kind of all over the place, whereas now you're much more focused and way better at articulating things. I feel like not that you were like slurring your words or anything like that, but just you're very excited and you were doing a lot of things because of this kind of new journey that you were on. Um, so, what are you doing now to kind of protect yourself, whether that's in relationships or recognizing that you maybe could be falling into like an isolated state? Does that make sense? Like your coping mechanisms.
So I had to like I've realized that routine is super helpful for me, and that's like my internship was at Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge. My internship for my grad school. And I hadn't even been sober for a year when I entered that internship. Looking at how routine the days were for like the clients and inpatient, I was like, it made me reflect on myself. And I realized like the time where I was doing the best was like after I graduated from my undergrad and had a steady job. Um, and like I was in a routine. So I like, of course, it's hard to have a solid routine when you're working 80 hours a week and going to school. So like when I graduated and I got this job at working as an outpatient therapist, I got my schedule all figured out and like I realized that I do better if I like work out in the morning to start my day because it energizes me and makes me feel in control and empower of me. It is something that I do for me and not for others because
Mm.
I focus so much with my like the I hate you, please don't leave me is that like I hated the relationships that were in my like the unhealthiness of the relationships in my life, but I didn't want to let any of them go. So it really helped me build a relationship with myself. Like I'm more in tune with my body, how things feel, and like that focus of doing something good for me in the morning. And then I go and I serve others. And then I come home and relax. I play with the cats for a bit, heat up dinner because I meal prep on the weekends
Oh.
to make sure that I'm getting like good food in. I have like a cleaning routine. Um, like routine was super helpful and like really focusing on the relationships that are healthy. Morgan and I became really close when like she asked like who is this Ashley that's popping up on your Snapchat?
Mm.
Um and at first I don't think she liked me
And
because
then you grabbed her boobs and she was like, "Oh, okay."
she's like, "Oh, she's not interested in Bucky. She's more interested in me." Um so I do have some friends that like don't invite me to as much stuff anymore because like it's usually alcohol is the main
Mm.
piece of that, but I have like shared with them like I don't care if you guys are drunk. Like you guys aren't belligerent drunk. You guys drink like normal people and you just like have a few and you have a good time and you don't pressure me to drink. Actually be the opposite. If you saw me ordering a shot or something, if you see me ordering anything other than an NA beer, you're gonna like knock it out of my hand and like sit me down and like stern talk to me because you care. So like I don't care about being around you guys like when you're drunk. Like I'll even fucking drive you home. Like I'd be sober cab. That's fine. So like the isolation piece, like I did feel isolated at first. 'Cause at first I couldn't be around. I couldn't be in a bar setting. I couldn't order an NA beer or an NA cocktail 'cause it'd make me wanna drink. It took me over a year to get to the point where I could really be comfortable around other people drinking, like in a group setting.
Sure.
But yeah, now, like, as long as people aren't trying to force me to drink or being obnoxious, I really don't care. So I can do a lot more now. I always make sure to take my car with me, like, I always have a way
Mm.
out. Where was I going with him?
Well, the whole isolation thing.
Oh, yeah. So, like, where, like, felt very different from everyone, so, like, it felt like isolation at first,
Mm.
but then I realized, "Oh, I actually need to cut people out," and, like, that's where I'm realizing with sex for me is another area where with everything going on with him, and I cut out sex with him, and I realized that, fuck, I'm, like, addicted to, like, this fake intimacy shit. I, like, need male approval in this way, and I had the urge to drink. Like,
Oh.
probably how long ago was that? It would have been I would have cut him out in, like, October
Oh.
of this year. So I was having urges to drink. I didn't, because I mean,
Congrats.
obviously, because I celebrated my 3 years on Tuesday. But, like, now I feel like I'm going through withdrawals and feeling isolated now, even though I'm not isolated. Um, so just making sure to, like, be okay with feeling like you're losing people because you are. But they're not great.
Yeah.
So paying attention to that and, like, being okay with losing.
So like checking in with yourself and then analyzing like yeah. I have such a tough time with like because I will forget that I have, so my thing is ADHD and then hypomania with cluster B traits. That's why I say bipolar light because they're like describing everything that encompasses being bipolar, but they don't want to just call me bipolar. But yeah, forgetting that I will have these really strong feelings that'll come on and kind of overreactions and trying to talk to myself and be like, dude, remember, like you're an adult and these are not like high school problems. Like you're attacking it like kind of being a little dramatic or whatever.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, yeah, dramatic is I would definitely use that as a word to describe myself at times, for sure.
but learning to recognize that because that Dunning-Kruger effect, like, stupid people lack the capacity to recognize that they're stupid.
Mhm.
When you're too deep into the thing, I'm too dramatic to recognize that I'm being dramatic. Like, no, these
Yes.
feelings are real, okay? That person ate the last french fry because they wanted to assert their dominance over me.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we, like, personalize things that aren't directed at us.
Yeah.
And then I go back to, like, little Ashley that was being told, "No, I don't wanna be your friend
Mhm.
because you suck," or, like, and that's not so, like, a more recent reaction that I had, and I'm very proud of myself for not going to this person about this because it was me and not them, and I didn't wanna push this on him. So, I have a friend, TJ, super sweet guy. We had slept together once before in, like, 2019, and I actually had to tell him I don't remember it. Um, I told him recently that I don't remember it, because he went through a breakup, and he was kinda looking to, like, hook up, and at first I was like, "Yeah, I'm totally down for that." But he wasn't ready yet, and then by the time he felt like he was in a place where he could do that without being, like, weird, I found out with what happened with possessive creep that, like, I can't do this. Like, I need to be single and like actually single, like voluntarily celibate. I need to work on myself. And I told him, and he was, a normal person about it and was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like that makes a lot of sense. So I went to him, with him to a bonfire, back in October, and he drinks. So I was like, why don't I come pick you up and we can go together and I can drive you so that you don't
Mm.
have to like limit your drinking if you don't want to. And he's like, yeah, sure. So we get back to his house and he's like, well, do you want to stay over?
Oh.
And I was like, he could see the look on my face, I think. And he's like, no, not for that. I know that you're not in a place to like be sexual and that's fine. But like, do you, want to watch a movie and cuddle and like we can have coffee in the morning and just chat and you can pet my cats because he has 3 cats. And I'm like, yeah. And it was awesome. And he was super respectful. But like afterwards, I noticed that even without the sex, I still felt overly connected to him when I shouldn't.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't anything he did. Like it wasn't. It was me. And then like he hasn't been talking to me as much, and I was talking to my therapist about it, and I was like, I just feel like he would never date me because I don't drink, and like he would find me boring, and like why is it that these nice guys never want to like date me? And he's like, well, could it be that it's not about you at all? And I was like, yeah, because he's not in a spot to like, and I feel like he was looking for like, some intimacy to make him feel better after this breakup, but he's not wanting to date. And like, I feel like he like slowly kind of stopped. It's not that he doesn't talk to me at all. Like if
Mm-hmm.
I send him a snap of my cats or something, he'll like send me one back. So like, but my immediate response was he hates me. He has to hate me. But he doesn't. So I never brought this up to him that I had this like very dramatic emotional response over like essentially nothing. Because I just worked it out with my therapist, and my therapist was like, yeah, I think, could this be you? So like now I know, that it's even more than just the sex. It's that having like that fallback person, like I am only worthy if a man
Mm-hmm.
wants me. So I'm finding out that I'm addicted to more than just alcohol.
I was
It's
gonna
just
say,
not another substance, but it releases oxytocin. So really it is like a drug. It's just not one that you ingest or inject or,
I feel like sometimes that like the somebody who's willing to embrace you in that way can almost be more addicting because you don't feel that there's an ulterior motive. And so it's this like really desirable situation to have somebody who's willing to hold you when something shitty is going on, and they're not going to try to sleep with you immediately after this thing happens. So I mean, I hear that a lot where there are women and men who like are using dating apps and they're like, look, I just want somebody to fucking hold me.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a really sought after thing. So I get it. But Ashley, I just want to say that I love you. And even though we've been recording for a long time, I could do this all fucking day. So we definitely need to make sure that we fucking talk more. Okay.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me on. And I'm a hard person to have structure with. I'm all over the place. So you did great.
Same. And to the listeners, be well to yourselves.